Yola, you play Sister Rosetta Tharpe,
Yes.
and Alton Mason, you play Little Richard. Can you guys tell me a little bit about your characters and why they were important in Elvis' life?
Ooh, well, I suppose I better start this one because she started all of it. She invented rock and roll. That's why she's important. I know, I could just stop there, but like I'll elaborate slightly. Heavy distortion. You think of like all the rock songs that you know, all the rock albums you know, like, you know, from, you know, I think of like In Bloom and like the Nirvana days, and you think of all the distortion that you get on that record, how the guitars sound. She was #1 on guitar distortion. So none of that, not any of the rock and roll, not the British invasion, none of this happens without that. Also, the blues bending and all that shredding of like, they did that in blues, but they didn't like speed it up and like rock it out and put it to this fast tempo. #1. So the entire rock and roll aesthetic, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. So as I say, in short, she invented rock and roll, and that's exactly why she's important and really needs to be known, given how much we directly take from her.
Absolutely, and everyone has. And
literally
Sister
everyone.
Rosetta Tharpe actually discovered Little Richard.
Exactly.
Which is wild, and Little Richard ended up opening up for her shows. I think what I love about Little Richard is the fire that's inside of him. And during that time where religion and segregation was so heavy, sexuality was in the air, Little Richard kind of transformed that and made it work for him and brought it out on stage. With being trained in piano and saxophone, that's where his musicality comes. That's where you hear the cadence in his voice and his breath and the raspiness. And I got to kind of embody all of that and bring it to set at Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's so important, like that role of just sexiness in rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so camp. And you see how rock and roll is so super camp, and it's just like, that's Little Richard right
He's
there.
the originator. And when you think of people like Prince, Andre 3000, Childish Gambino, Ziggy Stardust even, you think of Little Richard. They took a page out of his book. So I think it's important that we acknowledge the originators and the truth and where it all comes from. And that's what you'll see in this movie.
And in the movie, you sing, you dance, and everything directed by Baz Luhrmann, which is like pretty special. How was that for you guys?
Magical, super magical, spiritual. Baz has this power that he'll make you feel like the only person in the room when he's talking to you. There's things that he sees within you, and the reason why he brought you there is because he saw those, but he also challenges you to also serve what we're bringing to the table. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's so true. And that thing of like, oh, I saw something, and it could be, like, this was a 5-year project, right? So he could have seen something in you in 2019 that he's gonna pull out of you in 2021. But like, he still remembers every thread of the thing that he wants to pull. So like, it's just an intimidating concept to like imagine what might just be in his mind whilst he's making a movie. Like, I can imagine just forgetting your own name because you've just got so much information in your brain. But he seems to be able to organize that with such mastery. It's mind-blowing. That alone was mind-blowing, but I grew up with like the Romeo and Juliet, and so like, you know, like that, I was already like just like obsessed with that movie. And so like then doing this, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Like, this is like a legit hero.
Did you learn anything about Elvis' life that you didn't know before this project?
Just the fact that he grew up in the hood so heavily. So that explains his influence with black music and black culture. But you also get to learn that we were in a period of segregation, which is a reason why he took that style and took it to the other side, which is unfortunate because these are the people who originated that sound. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Little Richard, Big Mama Thornton. But what I love about this film is that that's what you learn, where it all came from and the reasons why and the highs and the lows and the trials and tribulations that brings.
The number of times we've been asked, did you did you shoot with Tom Hanks? I'm like, we can't have.
No.
It's segregated. That's the whole point.
He was on the other side.
The whole narrative is that, like, Elvis is the token white boy in Blackland. That's the only reason he's there. And so it's like really easy to forget that, like, that's why, like, this story, like, and his life was so exalted in this way. It's because they needed like a narrative of like a white guy doing this, because they had black artists doing it, but they couldn't sell any of them to that same degree because of segregation. And so
they could, but they didn't want to.
Yeah.
Because they knew the power.
Yeah.
But in the movie, you'll see in the scene that Elvis came back to this side because he was uninspired and there was something missing. There was a feeling that wasn't the same. So he came back for that energy.
Yeah, but it was like still illegal for them to sell it on the other side. And once we get the breakdown of the illegality of like segregation, making it, you know, him being threatened by just going to visit his friends that he grew up with.
Yeah.
Like when that breaks down, then he's just plain sad. Because it's like, oh, I can go back, but I'm just not allowed now. Oh, this sucks.
Thank you very much, guys, and congrats on the movie.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.